in this webinar, and I tried to avoid some kind of repetition, and so we prepared something special for you. I will share a framework and strategy shaped by my work on Qonversion. Qonversion is in-app subscription platform. We have been developing for last 6 years, and we provide subscription infrastructure for Apple, Google, and web payments specifically for Stripe. And on top of infrastructure, we offer A/B testings, analytics, and remote configs, and Apple Search Ads attribution. Which one, by the way, it's incredible tool, especially for those who earn less than 50K per month. I know that Apple Search Ads, we built the best on the market by data accuracy, and it's a phenomenal solution. You can just have your all attribution without any third-party tools, just using subscription infrastructure by Qonversion. Before my time at Qonversion, I worked on subscription apps from 2015 to 2018. It was early days of subscription market, actually mobile subscription markets. I launched several apps there, and so yeah, we serve in Qonversion. We serve nearly around $1 billion annually. That's money we proceed through our systems. And with all this wealthy of information, I mean to provide you with reliable expertise and valuable insights about the amazing onboarding flows. So let's get started. And here I would like to say that approximately 80% of your revenue potentially you will earn through the onboarding phase. It is fundamental stage for your business outcome, which is precisely why I've dedicated today's webinar, particularly only about this critical component and optimizing the onboarding flow. Before jumping to the topic about optimizing onboarding flow, I would like to just revisit an essential point I repeat every time when I speak about A/B test. That's if your product lacks an onboarding process, that's disaster for your product. And if you directly, after the install, move customer to the main screen or to the paywall, that's disaster. You need to change this. I just repeat this again because continue to see many projects, particularly smaller one, who still didn't implement that. Anyway, I hope most of you who joined to this webinar about optimizing the onboarding process have onboarding in your project. And so yes, as I mentioned it, when I prepared for the webinar, when we prepared, reviewed materials from previous session. Actually, we already had around maybe 3-4 webinars about this topic for last 4-6 weeks. And we wanted to avoid some kind of repetition when you prepare a lot of materials about the same topic. Want you or not want, you're going to repeat in some way yourself. And yeah, that's what's the crucial part of our preparation for this particular webinar. And we developed a framework that will help you to structure your entire work on the onboarding optimization while keeping key goals in mind. And this framework is designed to create clear understanding of the landscape and goal setting related to the onboarding. And try to utilize it at least for 3-6 months while working on each component, and you will see significant result. And the framework we want to present consists of 2 steps and 2 components. It is dramatically easy to remember. That's 2x2 framework, just 2x2, and it includes 2 steps and 2 components. So we will start with steps. Here I suggest 2 steps, and step 1 is identify, and step 2 improve. we'll go on step by step and examine each step in more details. Identify. Here you need to start mapping out the entire onboarding journey. You need to have clear understanding of the overall onboarding conversation metric, which means reaching the paywall or your final screen on the onboarding. Usually it's paywall, and the product metrics, or in other words, you can say your engagement metric for each screen. So don't rush to improve stuff until you fully understand those metrics. You need to know conversion rates for each screen in the funnel, or drop-off rates, and engagement metric for every screen. It could be time of screen, it could be click-through rate, completion rate, or some other metrics depending on screen you have. Most of product tools you may use, like Computer, Mixpanel, Hub, or something else, Firebase, usually include these metrics and provide them under hood. So once again, for each screen, the primary metric may vary since the screens themselves offer different content and different features. One screen might display just reviews. Another one could request data from customers like name, birthday, or weight, or something else. So it is critical and quite important on this stage to define the main engagement metric for each screen. Your output might look like this table. You have screens, and you defined main engagement metric, and you know your current value for this engagement metric. Also, you can add a fourth column and mention there your drop-off rate for this particular screen. Once again, I want to repeat that here, don't rush to the next step. It is straightforward, but anyway, don't make any improvements until you understand your metrics clearly. How you can know work it or not if you didn't define your key metrics, and you didn't define your goal, and you didn't define your hypothesis. So that's step number one, identify. Step number two, improve. You can jump to this step, and we defined on this step two goals and call them strategic goal and supporting goal. Let's examine them. Strategic goal, it's increasing users reaching the paywall. So your main and strategic goal, you want to as much user as possible to reach your final step, your final screen. In most cases, it's paywall, once again. And your supporting goal, it's boost engagement metric for every screen. So you're gonna work on these two goals in parallel, all one after another. And I want to just mention that supporting goal, a supporting goal is critical and crucial, but anyway, both of these goals proxy, and we view these metrics as the increase in the number of users who reach the paywall screen within the context of onboarding optimization. But by the end of the day, you want to increase your revenue. And just for keeping in mind about onboarding optimization, focused on these metrics. Don't forget about that. Your final goal is to improve the revenue. Even if you have 100% customer who reached your paywall, it doesn't guarantee you increased your subscription rate, retention rate, and MRR ARR at all. So strategic goal helps you maintain a balance between these supporting and strategic objectives. And here, let's examine each goal one after another, and how you can achieve your strategic goal and supporting goal. Strategic goal, once again, you want to increase an amount of users who reach your paywall. For this particular goal, you can you need to define your drop-off rates, as we mentioned before. You know your drop-off rates from the step one, and the action you can implement here is defining the most the worst screen you have on your funnel, and you know which one is works better, and so you're going to work on that. And action you can take here, and just try to remove the step which one is show highest drop-off rates. And that's a little bit radical action, but anyway, keep in mind you anyway can try this and try to make A/B test based on this action. Also, you can change screen position, and you can move the screen from, let's say, if you have an authorization screen in the beginning, and you see that your drop-off rate is around 15%, which what is huge for just first step, you can consider to move that after paywall or before the paywall or somewhere else, or just drop off at all. Once again, and there is an idea that it's better to keep authorization screen after the paywall, but I know a few projects where authorization screen in the beginning worked better than to the end of the onboarding. And two common but important actions here: revise visuals and messaging. Try to update some common components like images, text, button, and so on. And also, one of my favorite actions here, try to fully redesign the step. At least this action could provide you more ideas and potentially new way to iterate with this screen, which has high drop-off rate. And that was action one: analyze and optimize high drop-off steps in your funnel for this strategic goal. Then CTA button optimization. It is quite important, and it can significantly impact onboarding process, and even small details for buttons such as rounding, color, text, position from screen to screen can affect your drop-off rate. And my key recommendation, and here it's try to include your button at a consistent level across screens. I know that's I know that it is some kind of cognitive load for your users when you change button position, when you change button color, when you change button rounding and messaging size and so on. Avoid this kind of manipulation. Just it doesn't mean you want to rush your users go through the whole onboarding just tapping continue, but you just try to reduce cognitive load to search this button and recognize the element on the screen. And even for those screens where you have a lot of fields, by the way, try to avoid this kind of screen during the onboarding. But anyway, if you have, try to fix your button on the bottom. And that's your main component for onboarding. You can work with, after fixing the button, you can work with sizes, you can work with text, messaging, rounding, adding some different pulsating effects to the button, and so on. It's your main component to focus on. And a few more topics for strategic goal you can implement. It is number of screens. Try to reduce the number of screens, or even add a few more screens, and simplifying the most overloaded screens you have on the onboarding. Try to test impact of screen options, skip options for your onboarding. So some steps may be required for your product, but anyway, try to avoid and adding skip options, you can request this data later inside the product. And a few common things, but not so much apps include that: social proofs, at showcasing reviews, user testimonials, any relevant social facts about your project. And that's 5 steps here for 5 tips here for strategic goal. Now let's jump to the supporting goal. And as I mentioned, a friendly reminder here, supporting goals is to increase engagement for each screen. And the engagement metric will vary depend on the screen. As mentioned earlier, you might have a screen with just illustration and text and button. For this screen, engagement metric can be just click to rate. Yeah. For another screens where you have reviews, you want to understand time on screen. If you have a form on the screen, your engagement metric will be the percent of customer who filled the form and provided important for your product data. This supporting goal might not directly affect your strategic goal and your main metrics, but it will have important and indirect effect on your on customer journey, on retention, and on it will help you to avoid thinking about strategic goal in the straightforward way, because strategic goal is increase the amount of users who reach the paywall. If you want about that, you can just remove the whole other steps, because just after that, 100% of your customer will jump to the paywall. But supporting goal helps you to improve the steps instead of removing that. And yeah, so you're gonna to work on these 2 goals, and after that, by the end of onboarding, you have paywall, and you're gonna to work on paywall as well. And it is crucial for your unit economy as well. You conduct specific tests aiming to improve your user to subscribe rate, trial conversion rate, and anyway, depending on your economy, you may have different key metrics for your paywall, but they are still proxy metrics for you, because as I mentioned, if you acquire a lot of trials, it doesn't mean that your economy will boost. You don't know how they will convert. You don't know how it will stay with your app, retention rate. But again, inside the context about onboarding optimization, we're going to focus on paywall optimization as well, increasing the engagement metric for paywall. And we discussed all things we discussed about previous steps, about previous screens, actually also for paywall. And they are relevant to paywall as well. And the only difference is your primary task is to convert users to subscribers and to trial subscribers or direct subscribers. And final notes here, and you should you have 2 steps and 2 components. First is strategic goal of increasing the number of users who complete onboarding, and second is a supporting goal of improving, enhancing engagement of each steps you have during your onboarding process. And 2 steps, but your final goal is optimizing the paywall to improve conversion of your proxy metric on the paywall screen. Try to conduct these tests either in parallel or one after another if you have a lack of customer base. And it is crucial to switch between them and concentrate on strategic goal and supporting goal one after another. This is particularly useful if your audience and just around, let's say, 500, 1K per day. You can, for this amount of hours, it's better to make test one after another. And or you have, if you have more 1K users, new users every day, you can launch test in parallel, and try implement this during three months, improving each steps. And I'm sure you will see significant results. We'll share this framework later, and here I would like to ask Gurgen continue the webinar. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sam. It was really insightful. And yeah, without further ado, I would like to basically highlight what you just said in the beginning of the webinar, is that 80% of revenue comes actually from this onboarding phase, right? So this is why you said what you said, and this is where exactly I'm gonna, pick up my turn and begin my speech, because majority of revenue that can be retrieved from the user engagement or user communication also lays in the onboarding. So once you guys got everything figured out, and I mean all your onboarding screens show, make sense, the flow is more or less clean, the unit economy is balanced, there comes a time where you need to you'll realize that users hit the paywall, but they don't convert into trial period, or don't convert into paid subscription, or you have you started to pour your money into your application or whatnot, and then you sorted out your acquisition, but the users don't complete the onboarding, or they churn off at the first, second, third, fourth screen of the onboarding flow. So obviously the first idea that comes in your mind is that I need to deliver the value somehow else, or in additional way, right? But then you have these concerns where you might think that, okay, how much time or effort do I spend on setting this system up so that my main focus doesn't switch from making the great product to becoming a marketing agency that is trying to figure out how to keeps users, how to basically start or convince users to pay for the product. And then there's also risks, such as, what if I don't over communicate, send too many notifications, or send too many emails, and the users not just turn them off, but even delete the app? So all of the effort that we're talking about here for the first 30 minutes going down the drain, right? So to address these concerns, I decided to come up with this agenda. So why does communication matter in our case? What impacts the conversions the most, and how do you set things up so that it works for you and not the other way around? So in our numbers that we have, only 5% of users that see the paywall for the first time are going to buy that subscription. More than that, 5% of users is considered generally okay. Successful apps do 10%, and that's considered pretty good. So you've got this big chunk of users that are not buying. It depends on your product, whether there's a freemium model, whether there's trial period, where there's other mechanics that the users can still engage with, and that way you kind of work on retention or work on retargeting them in different ways. But this is the raw reality of the acquisition and onboarding. So sending user communication campaigns could be expensive or could be cheap. The raw transportation system are actually not that expensive. Push notifications, if we talk about push notifications, sending notifications through Firebase is essentially free. Sending emails is not going to be that expensive if you just plug in a certain email sending provider. The highest cost here will be your logic. How do you set out the logic and how do you analyze the data that helps you to set up these triggers, which consequently will help you to get these users to use the app or to buy that subscription. And again, speaking of average numbers, it is possible to do 5% of incremental revenue on top of what you already have with properly set user engagement. Some good scenarios from the industry are 10 and 15%. Let's get into it. So the thing that impacts the conversion the most, first of all, is time, the personalized messaging, and the segmentation. And again, these things they go hand in hand, right? So the user installed the app, user is in onboarding. Now, depending on complexity of the app that you have here, the onboarding phase might be not just one tab here like you see on the screen. It might be a couple tabs, right? So for example, for health and lifestyle apps, the onboarding is at least 7 screens. Could be up to 40 screens. And it's pretty important to analyze how users not just complete these screens, but where do they churn off, and fixate that, and to try to engage with them if they, let's say, just abandon the app at any point during the onboarding phase. Because once again, to highlight, this is where your main revenue is going to come from, right? So let's assume that I just installed the app. The app asked me how old am I, my weight, my color of my shoes, and when am I gonna run tomorrow at 7 in the morning or 7 p.m. So I got tired of it as a user because I just downloaded a couple other apps that's supposed to help me with my running activity, and I closed the app. The good app will know where did I close the app and try to send me a push notification the same day, one notification, B, email. So in case of push notification, you don't want to jump to conclusions. Hey, come back to the app. It's time to buy the subscription. You want to carefully test the few hypotheses here. First, remind the user where he got stuck. In this case would be, hey, you didn't pick your time when you're going to run tomorrow. How about running tomorrow? And B, remind them what else is coming next. So if the question was about the time when I want to run, you might as well ask, the next thing would be to choose the court which you want to run at. So you follow me? It's all about keeping these tests and hypotheses also in dynamic and kind of playful, so that the user feels that the app is trying to take care of his personal problems rather than just to sell the subscription. And this is pretty much the basic of your personalization as well, right? It really reflects where the user is at the moment, and B, you can also automate this personalization and save time, and this process will kind of feed itself up with more users running in through this funnel that we kind of recreated from your onboarding. So the same funnel you have on your in your application, a similar funnel has to be with user engagement. And next thing, okay, let's assume that we figured out our main triggers. The segmentation is there. Now, what do we send? How do we convince user to, do that run tomorrow at 7? Do we actually highlight the fact that there's a run tomorrow, or should we make the message longer? Should we make the message shorter? The answer is A/B test. However, the way we do it in on our side is we allow our users to just upload all the possible variations to each possible scenario in bulk, right? So I'll just upload, let's say, 5 to 7 similar copies of texts, could email, push notification, doesn't matter in this case. One will be shorter, one will be longer, one will have emojis, one will not have emojis. I'll let the machine to start sending this notifications to users. Give it a little time, see how users react to these notifications. And by react, I mean, don't just track open clicks, open rates, or click rates. Try to set up your analytics in a way that it shows you actual engagement. Did the user log back into the app just because the user remembered that the app is there, or your notification or piece of email actually made him go back into the app and do this, follow the screen A, B, C. All of that you can, or you already might have in your analytics. So make sure that you map this data. And this is where you will find the balance between personalization and automation. So the goal of these triggers, again, will to first understand what text works best in each micro segment or little scenario, right? And bring that, move the users from one scenario to the second, from second to the third, from third to the fourth to the fifth, until the user hits that paywall, the offer, or a discount, if whatever it is that your app is, what your onboarding app offers. This is generally the drawing of everything that I just said. The general schema, so to say. So you have your analytics, whether that's amplitude, whether that's data from running from Qonversion into your analytics storage or whatnot. So here you will have your events and properties running into your user engagement setup in the middle. And this is where you will have your texts, campaigns, triggers, everything set up so that it could be sent out through the messaging platforms. If it's push notifications, then it's APNS or Firebase servers. If it's an email, then there's endless amount of platforms that are letting you send emails with everything that we just had in mind. And like a little guide, basically, just to summarize step by step what we just covered. So first, you gotta set up the campaign triggers based on the in-app activity and web funnel completion, right? This will be essentially your user segmentation. Then you create your visuals, your sequences, your templates. Create a lot of them, and test them. So in case of emails, you will have to warm up the domains, and you can find a lot of information about how it's done online. It's a whole another webinar that I guess we can run on just the warm up of the domains. Then you can use your system to test the creatives that you already put in place in action number 1 and 2. Land users from emails or from push notifications onto unique paywalls. Well, in case of emails, you can just attach the paywall and the unique paywall as well into each email template and see how and where the users come from before they make that purchase. In push notifications, you can deep link the paywall screen into the notification so that when this special notification, for example, with an offer comes to the app, I click on it and I land specifically to that screen in your app. So use deep link for that. Track how it's all improving your retention, your total revenue, and in the meantime, also try to identify the best channel for communication. Again, it's wrong to say the best channel because it's duo. It's always has to work together. The push notifications have to back up the email notifications. Emails have to back up the WhatsApp messaging, for example, and vice versa. You get the idea. And now I also put together a couple cases to give this conversation a little more down to earth scenarios, basically, right? So how much impact can we potentially get with whatever we were just covering here? So there's a pregnancy app that we work with for already a couple of years, and they had an interesting case where they figured out at some point that push notifications can improve their retention. We're not talking about revenue yet, just retention. So users who were receiving push notifications started to be engaged with the app more. Then the guys on their own side started to segment these users. So they had three main segmentations: new users, active users, inactive users. And they saw that the results are even improving there. But then when we came along with our automation, we tripled this amount of segments. So for onboarding, there was now seven segments only covering the onboarding, and the rest were covering the active and inactive audience. And they figured out that not only it improves the key product metrics, but the fact is that push notifications actually serve as an app opener for the new users that just installed the app. So 95% of the new traffic that potentially will use this app in particular, comes from the first push notifications that they receive. So it's pretty important to have this set up on your side and continuously run it through test to ensure that users can launch the app in the first place before they can follow the onboarding, complete the tutorial, add their card, and so on and so on and so on. So after working with this client for a couple months, we are consistently adding 10% of monthly retention. It's an incremental retention, just to highlight, with push notifications in comparison to their old framework of push notifications. The average revenue per user also increased by 6%, and it also led 7% uplift to subscription conversion. Why am I saying, keeping apart the ARPU? Because this app in particular has a different monetization model, just so there's no confusion. Wanted to highlight that as well. If it's an e-com or retail app, similar thing. However, the onboarding here might be not that long because the user expected to buy the products that they see in the app, right? So what we need to increase here with the email with the user communication is basket size and order frequency, and this is two main things that we targeted here. So we used RFM segmentation, promos, discounts, but to run all of our campaigns through our AI, and it delivered pretty significant results, as you see on the screen. And the last but not least, something that you guys might be also very familiar with in today's world of mobile marketing is called web funnels, right? So basically, this onboarding framework just is gaining traction in the web version, right? So very similar thing, very similar principle we can apply for web scenario, where we figure out how users complete the web onboarding, use that data to create segmentation and put triggers in place, and start shooting relevant and semi-personalized but automated emails, which will follow up on users' experiences. And with emails, you can also kind of play around with more texts, more images, more paywall mechanics, And with the help of that, we were able to test more than 50 email templates with just one client, and consistently uplifting 5% to the total revenue, with 2% of the total revenue completed in the first month of this experiment. And I think we just came to the Q&A part of it. So Sam, I'm giving you the back the mic.
Thanks, Greg. That's amazing examples and cases you shared today. And about 10% in rotation for each month. It's a significant result. And 6% for our Pupo is also a significant result. It's just money from somewhere else, for just 6%. We have just around 5-10 minutes for a question. Everyone, feel free to ask your question in chat here. Just please, if possible, just mention and indicate who question is for, and it will make us easier to manage and to answer on that. And before waiting some question, I want to ask you a question for you, Gorgen. And you mentioned, so when we consider implement onboarding flow, we want to ask push access to push notification during the onboarding flow as well. But somehow it can affect your drop-off rate as well. Did you have any test regarding this part on your end, trying to add these requests in the beginning of onboarding flow, or maybe to the end of onboarding flow, just after the paywall? And yes.
Good question. We get this question a lot, and we did a little research where we were trying to understand first the drop-off rate, and the second, how that impacts total revenue as well. So, third, or even the first, is where do you place this opt-in request so that you minimize the risks and you maximize the yeses on the permissions, basically, to receive notifications. The best outcome of that was to clearly state the reason why do you want to ask the permission to communicate, not just by the default systematic pop-up, like on iPhone it pops up, this app wants to send you notifications. You say allow or not allow. No, you also want to have that as a separate screen explaining that this app will want to communicate with you in order to deliver value A, B, C. And for that, we will, the next thing, we will ask you for permission to send push notifications. So this way you get, the highest number of conversion of the opt-in rates. And this way also the users are kind of acknowledge that, okay, this app is not really trying to squeeze that notifications in me, and I might allow it, I might not. It's up to me to decide. And the app stated it clear and doesn't try to hide it. And the drop-off rate significantly was less than without this specific onboarding screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but that means in case of customer drop-off during the onboarding flow, and there are lack of communication channels with them. And nowadays, most of apps just after the install show this pop-up about request to advertising identifier, and they do that just after the install. And for doing that just after the install, the conversion rate to those who approve this request around 25-30% based on benchmark provided by Adjust, AppsLayer, and so on. But by myself, I didn't try in the past do the same for push notifications. Maybe that could work because the same thing just in the beginning, most user can just tap allow or decline. But anyway, you will have around 30% of customers, and for this huge bunch of 90%, 95%, as you mentioned it, who will not buy on the pushes. So that's a trade-off. Yeah,
It is. But yeah, I mean, just as the example you mentioned, you want to ask that in the beginning, because yeah, it will make it clear in the beginning who said yes, who said no. You want to ask for the identifier also in the beginning, just after the app was installed, and somewhere around same place you would want to ask the for the push notification permission also, because yeah, the likelihood of converting users after that is, all bets again on onboarding, right? You have to get the information about the user, and identifiers also during that first
Yeah.
phase. So it is the trade-off that we have to do.
Uh, for now, we have just one question about conversion and onboarding builder. The clarification here is needed. Is it about onboarding for web or onboarding for mobile? And in conversion, we have no code builder for paywalls. And for now, in private beta, our no code builder version 2. And for onboarding for mobile, there is not such kind of solution in onboarding for now. But we have a hub, public feature hub with our roadmap. You can just put this idea, great idea there, and we'll consider to implement that in the near future.